will start with our Zoom meeting with Ms. Mervi Jansson. She is the CEO of Omnia Education Partnership Finland with تأهيل for VET Skills and Excellence. Good morning, Ms. Mervi. Can you hear us?
Good morning. Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And we wanted to ask you how greening and digitalization are core themes of vocational excellence and impact pretty much everything in TVET, from infrastructure to human resources, systems and process, as well as stakeholders relations.
I have a short presentation that I would like to share with you. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So basically, in Finland, we are very keen on the green agenda, but we are also pretty much driving the digitalization as well. And you might know that Finland is one of the global leaders of digitalization, and we're ranked as #1 in sustainable development quite recently, and actually a comparison of 193 countries. So this cannot go unnoticed from the TVET side. And we've been working for 3 years with the European Training Foundation on this, let's say, building of excellence and sharing what are the competencies for the future, because that's what we need to teach today in TVET. And we very much concluded that greening and digitalization are core parts of the excellence. And if we look at competence from a Finnish point of view, what TVET should produce and where we add value, it's actually a combination of knowledge, skills, and mindset. And these applied successfully equal the competence. So if we're looking at learners today, our workforce for the future, these are very core themes that we need to embed in all of TVET. But how does that actually work? In our work with the excellence concept and developing excellence, we've actually developed this model. And we're looking at excellence traditionally on the horizontals, but now we can no longer stay with the horizontals. We need to add in the verticals, which actually impact everything. And when I mean everything, it's anything from infrastructure, human resources, pedagogical landscape, systems and processes, and of course, a very important one is the stakeholder collaboration. Now, typically, you have been able to be excellent on one of the horizontals so that it doesn't have such a great impact or doesn't demand so much from the other layers. But when we're talking about greening, digitalization, which are packaged together into innovation, we really have to change the whole scope of what is happening in TVET. And I wanted to point out some of the national level drivers in any system, and this also goes for global drivers. So the national TVET agenda can be very much about greening and digitalization. That's been happening in Finland for digitalization actually for the past 15 years, and that's why the COVID basically the pandemic and the disruption were not so harsh on Finnish TVET because we were actually prepared with the digitalization. But let's say during the past 5 years, the national agenda has also included greening, so that now we have greening actually in all of our vocational modules as learning outcomes, and we also have a module particularly on greening, which is open to all of the TVET students. There could be legislative requirements driving these changes, different stakeholder initiatives, economic development. These could be funding priorities. But first and foremost, from the TVET point of view, we're looking at future jobs. So if we want to be relevant and we want our graduates to be relevant, we need to be ready to prepare them for the future jobs. So just a quick look on how the impact actually should show on the different horizontal levels of excellence. So if we look at infrastructure, there, of course, energy efficiency, water consumption, lifespan of the buildings, multi-group and multi-purpose use of the facilities, so that we don't have facilities which are only partially in use. So campuses open to all, to different stakeholders for different purposes. And of course, if we look at the digitalization, then connectivity and the equipment available, smart surfaces, so that we're really at the core of what's happening. When we're looking from a human resources point of view, it's about green values and mindset, about capacity building on digitalization and greening. Very much about the working modes and the culture of the organization. And that also has a spillover effect into the stakeholder collaboration. But if we look at the pedagogical landscape, it's about the learning environments. So basically, how and where do our learners learn? Because that should basically reflect how they will be working in the future. The training methods and the training culture that we have, and of course, the competence goals. So are we measuring what we hope to actually produce as knowledge, skills, and competence? That should show in the curriculum. In our systems and processes, what data do we generate? What do we collect? And how do we utilize this data? What type of quality assurance do we have? What are the KPIs measuring our performance? And of course, greening, for instance, can also show in our procurement. The stakeholder collaboration, last but definitely not least, how do we engage in sectoral development? Are there joint innovation projects where we are basically one of the driving forces? Do we connect on these themes on a global level? What type of upskilling programs can we offer small and medium-sized companies, large companies, whole sectors, so that TVET is actually proactively driving the change, not just trying to, let's say, stay on the bandwagon? And then the ongoing curriculum development. So these are some of the impacts that the greening and digitalization will have and should have in TVET. So this was a very quick overview of how we see greening and digitalization in Finland and some of the work that we've been doing on a global level. It was a pleasure sharing this, and I hope this was fruitful and interesting for the panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Mervi, for this very interesting presentation and delivering the Finnish experience to Cairo. Thank you very much.